We'll chat with Chris Brown here, part of Football Friday. Chris Brown's appearance on WGR, brought to you by Northwest Bank. For what's next, get started at northwest.com, by Northtown Volkswagen, Western New York's #1 VW dealership. Shop online at northtownvw.com. And by Lockport Outdoor Store, high-impact gear for hardworking men and women. Chris, good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Did you leave anything in the booth? Just, the superstition. We could go back. There could be one more game.
We didn't tear everything down. I do know at some point in time we do want to get the pictures of Van Miller off the wall
yes.
to bring to the new place. So I know there are plans to get back in there and at the very least do that.
All right, well, maybe we'll be there in a couple of weeks. Bills win, root for the Chargers. The dream stays alive to get back to Highmark for one more game. Before we talk about the game looking forward, Chris, just one more time, looking back on have you watched a lot of the videos? I find myself watching a lot of the videos, the touchdowns, the highlights, the songs, the people singing. It really was a pretty special day. It was about as good as you could ask for.
Yeah, and, it certainly helped that the team got up 21-0 on the Jets, which I don't think was any surprise to anybody. But the good thing was it kind of let the party start early, if you will. You always worry in a send-off game, that the game's tight and everybody's nervous and people can't enjoy, their final experience there. But that was taken care of rather quickly. So, and really, I know we were talking about it all morning leading up to that game, but, the game was almost secondary to the event of having your final experience there. So I was glad that the team was able to help in that regard.
Yeah. It's a great way to finish. Josh Allen gets some time off, and he had some time to do some self-scouting this week. He said that Joe Brady sat him down to look at what he did throughout the season, did some self-scouting. And I wonder how you feel like that'll affect Josh going into this game against a Jaguars team that is red hot, good offense, and their defense has been pretty good as well.
Yeah, it has, and they've been very opportunistic with taking the ball away. They lead the AFC in takeaways with 31. And I think they also lead the league with most interceptions at home this season. Now, they played 9 games at home just like the Bills did, but 12 interceptions in 9 games at home. So, yeah, they are opportunistic. There's no question about that. I was taken with Josh's comment when he was asked, what did you find through your self-scouting? And he said that there's so much out there that I missed. So I feel that this is an interesting tactic by Joe Brady. I think he's trying to open Josh's eyes to the fact that there is a lot of help for him out there on the field within the structure of the offense. And it's almost a reminder to him that he doesn't have to do it all by himself. So I'm hoping that message hits home because we know in the playoffs he levels up like nobody else. But I think it's important for him to recognize that he has people helping him pull on the rope. And so hopefully, he'll be a facilitator as much as he is a playmaker.
Yeah, it's the balance of that versus, I brought up earlier, Chris, the 4th and 1 play last year in Denver where he throws it to the back of the end zone to Ty Johnson. Sometimes he will be himself and go for it, but it's striking that balance. And how have you viewed him lately in that regard? I guess Brady has viewed him, a certain way recently. But that Philadelphia game, there were other games before that, the sack he took against Cleveland where he got injured. There are definitely some examples, I think, where you could totally tell he's trying to do too much.
Yeah, and I think it came to a head in the Philadelphia game, right? We had about 4 decisions in that game that were ill-advised and took points off the board. And I think that's probably what prompted Joe Brady into making this decision to take this approach and open his eyes to that. It's one thing to just go over them in corrections, but hey, why don't we take a deeper dive on this and see what we can do? And I was just impressed that, he took that step and then Josh willingly said, all right, let's take a look at this stuff. Mitch is preparing for the Jets. I'll spend some time self-scouting. And it seems to have opened his mind to what is out there for him to make use of within the structure of a game plan.
Chris Brown with us on the Western Hotline. Chris, there's a lot of strength versus strength in this game. also weaknesses versus weaknesses. The run game for the Bills against the rush defense of the Jaguars. The Jags have not allowed really anybody to run big on them this year. But as the week's going on and you're looking at this game, are you feeling like the Bills, despite those numbers, can have a day running the ball on the Jags?
Well, it depends on what you say by have a day. I mean, I could see James Cook, flirting with 100 yards. I don't think he's going to bust out 150. But I think I'll put it to you this way. I think the run game can be effective enough to keep the offense on schedule and allow them to stay within the framework of their game plan. Because, yes, it's the number one run defense in football. You have to respect that. I know you guys have mentioned this on your show. We've mentioned it on ours. The Jags have faced the fewest rushing attempts in the league, I believe. So I think there's more to that number than maybe meets the eye. They've gotten up on teams, and opponents don't run the ball as much because they're trying to catch up and they're throwing the football. I don't think the Bills are going to stray from the run game, even if they're down 7 or maybe even 10 early. I think because of that, I think they'll have some success. And I still think that Buffalo's offensive line still doesn't get enough respect. For me, it's a top 5 O-line in the league, maybe even top 3, and they're healthy and ready to roll. So let's put them to the test.
Chris Brown joining us, chatting about the Bills and Jaguars wild card matchup. The winner, of course, advancing. If it's the Bills that win, it could be Denver, it could be Houston, it could be Pittsburgh, but for now, Jacksonville. The pass defense, Chris, I wonder how big a loss you feel like Maxwell Hairston is in this game. I mean, he'd been rotating, and I think people have, early in the year, Trey White might have had some troubles, but he's played pretty well. And the pass defense as a whole has been pretty buttoned up for the most part. Do you feel like Hairston is a big loss, or this secondary is equipped to overcome it?
Well, I think we've seen ways in which the Bills have managed single absences before. The issue is when there are multiple absences. That's when there seems to be a problem. I think there's a way for them to work around the Hairston absence. Tre'Davious White and Christian Benford have been really, really good since about week 6. I mean, I know they're both in the top 5 in passer rating allowed in the entire league. Trey is in the top 3 in completion percentage against. So, yes, you'd love to have Hairston. I don't think it's catastrophic that he's probably not going to play on Sunday.
How about Prater? Does it make you nervous?
Well, let's see what the decision is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's listed as a full participant yesterday, which was decision day, as to whether or not he's fit to kick in the game. I found his interview with the media pretty interesting because he kind of gave the feeling that exiting the game on Sunday was purely precautionary because his leg had tightened up on him. He never really said that he pulled his quad muscle again. He admitted that the cold weather was a factor in it stiffening up. And he even was pretty self-effacing and acknowledging, hey, I'm 41 years old. I don't heal like I used to. But he did also admit playing in the warm weather will be beneficial. So, look, the coaches have to make a decision based on how the workout went yesterday as to whether they feel he'll be fit to kick and doesn't really risk recurrence of injury. I can't see them going into a game and having 2 kickers active. I really think this is a one or the other kind of decision. So we'll probably find out from Coach McDermott today as to whether or not Matt Prater got the green light for Sunday.
Chris Brown on the Western Hotline. Jacksonville, is it a house of horrors for this Bills team? They've had some ugly games down there, but I don't know. Is it a tough place to play, Chris, your experience? How loud does it get? I feel like we might be a little snobby in thinking Jacksonville's,
Also, the 17 playoff game, Chris, if I remember right, there was a good number of Bills fans.
A lot of Bills fans can invade sometimes.
Yeah, there were a good number of Bills fans for that one, but it does get loud there. It's an old, traditional bowl structure stadium, so the noise doesn't exactly rain down onto the field like it does at, say, like a Lumen Field in Seattle, or how New Highmark Stadium will be, or even Houston, which has stacked seating as well. So from that standpoint, maybe it's a little bit more bearable, but it will be loud. I mean, it's going to be a playoff atmosphere. Talking to some of the people that cover the Jaguars down there, they say people are, in a frenzy over the team being back in the playoffs for the first time in 3 years, not to mention the fact that the 8-game winning streak has, fans at a fevered pitch. So taking them out of it early might be pretty beneficial to how the rest of the afternoon might go, because playoffs charge everybody up, and so they'll be loud, even if they're not traditionally loud.
Well, we'll be listening, Chris, and we'll talk about it on Monday, and hopefully we're talking Victory Monday and matchups at that point.
Indeed. Enjoy the game, guys.
You too. Thanks, Chris. Chris Brown joining us here on Buffalo Bills Football Friday, brought to you by Celino Law. Car Crash, call Celino. Call the 8s, and by Crosby's Pizza and Subs. Crosby's hometown fuel, game day ready since 1922.